Hello my quilting friends! My name is Leah Day and welcome to this video about Isacord thread. This is my favorite thread for machine quilting and it has been for over 12 years. I started using this thread in 2009 and you guys know my opinion about materials and supplies is once you find what works, why change it? Why reinvent the wheel? Why continue to try out new and different things? And I'm often asked about this, why haven't I tried XYZ brand thread or this other brand of thread or this other new stuff, all that kind of good stuff. And the simple fact of the matter is once you find what works, buy a lot of it and don't keep trying, don't keep playing the field, basically. So I found Isacord in 2009 and I have not turned back. I invested in it. I have a huge supply of this thread. I have, hundreds and hundreds of colors. So to me, it just doesn't make sense to try another thread when this works so well. And the biggest goal when it comes to a thread for free motion quilting, machine quilting in general, whether you're doing walking foot style quilting, ruler quilting, or free motion quilting, your number one goal is simply no thread breaks. I don't want thread that is going to shred or break or snap or just be simply too weak to handle the high speeds that these machines can go. And I use Isacord both in my long arms, like this is a Unique 21. I also use it in my home sewing machines. I've used Isacord in my Janome Horizon machines, my Janome 1600. I've used this in pretty much every machine I've used for the last 15 years. And it's worked great. So that's one of those things I think that's really important as a professional quilter to say is once you find what works, stop playing the field, stop looking for something better. It really makes the most sense, I think, to just invest in a lot of colors. And I have some spools that are getting pretty old at this point, 6, 7 years old, and it's not going bad. There's other threads, 100% cotton thread's really, really bad about this. Once they start to absorb moisture from the air or they get really dusty, they can be more prone to breaking. They can get brittle. They can get weak in time. I have some of these spools of Isacord that I know are pushing 5, 6, 7 years old and they're working fine. I don't have a substantial number of increased thread breaks even on those older spools. So I really like that about it. Now, most common question that I get, and whenever somebody hears that I use a polyester embroidery thread for machine quilting is how does that wear in my quilts? And the answer is great. I have never had any problem with Isacord shredding or having any sort of problem in the wearability of my quilts. I do wash my quilts often, the bed quilts, and especially my tablecloth quilts. They get washed once a week at times. So, I have really, I feel like put Isacord through the ringer, but in baby quilts, in tablecloth quilts, and bed quilts. And I can say that it always stands the test of time. It always works really, really well. It is a slippery thread. It's a polyester and it's kind of has a very subtle sheen to it. So it will easily unpick itself. And for that reason, no, I do not use this for piecing, for actually piecing blocks together. That's a very common question that I get about it too. Unless I'm feeling very, very lazy and I don't want to bother rethreading my machine, I will usually use 100% cotton thread for piecing, just simply so that the fibers lock together and they don't tend to unravel, especially if I'm doing something like chain piecing or strip piecing where I'm going to be cutting those seams. That kind of thing can easily start to unravel on the edges, and then it kind of affects the integrity of the block. So for that reason, I do not piece with Isacord, but I love it for machine quilting. It is thin, it is strong, it is affordable at about $6 for a 1,000-meter spool. That is excellent. You get a nice big amount of thread, enough to quilt, a large amount of your quilt. And usually whenever I'm picking up for let's say a queen size or king size quilt, I'll only pick up 2 or 3 spools, and that's usually enough to see me through the entire project. So for all of these reasons, I still love Isacord. Been using it for a long time now, and I don't see any reason to mix that up. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, learned a little bit more about using Isacord, and why I think that this is a terrific thread for machine quilting. You can also, of course, use it for machine embroidery as well, and I think it's gorgeous for that. So come and learn more about Isacord thread at leahday.com/Isacord. Until next time, let's go quilt.